Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Jacob. In this video, I want to talk to you about a business lesson that I learned from one of the guys who had a massive impact on my career when I was back doing consulting. I was living in New York. I moved from New York to from Australia to New York to do financial consulting and with big corporates. And I worked directly with a guy for a couple of years who had a massive impact on my growth, on my learning. And I recall this one line that he said on a call one day, and it stuck with me. And I want to talk to you about that in this video today because it applies to every business. Doesn't matter what type of business you're doing, it applies to every single business. So that's what I want to talk through with you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Super Affiliate Accelerator. There's a link in the description. Click the bell icon so you get notified whenever I drop a new video if you like the content. And leave any questions or comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you throughout the week. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, that one piece of advice, it wasn't even directly given at me, but I heard him say it on a conference call that we were on. We used to do so many conference calls. My God. We would have conference calls to plan conference calls. And at any time of day. I took them at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I took them at midnight on a Friday night. I took them at 2 a.m. on a Monday morning. It didn't matter what time of day. If there was something to be done, it got done then and there. It wasn't let's deal with it tomorrow. It was let's do it now. But awesome experience. Learned a lot. Got really burnt out, but had a lot of fun doing it. So, as it says in the title, he said on this call one day, we used to deal with distressed companies. Either companies that had gone into bankruptcy or companies that were looking like they were heading for bankruptcy if they didn't make a change, if they didn't reduce their debt, reduce their operating costs, get new equity in whatever they needed to do, depending on the situation. And we effectively built strategies to make that happen, either through bankruptcy or not through bankruptcy. And we would often go head to head with people just like us, but on the other side. So maybe they were acting for a bank, or maybe we were acting for a bank, or maybe they were acting for the company, or we were acting for the company, whatever. We would often go kind of head to head and debate the validity of a business plan. Because let's say we were representing a bank and they wanted more money, we'd have to critique the business plan and kind of pull it apart and give advice to our client, be it the bank or be it the company, whoever we were acting for, based on what the other side had produced, or if we were producing it, we had to come up with the advice, right? And let's say we were reviewing someone else's work. What we would do is we'd look at the business plan, and it would usually have 3 to 5 years of projections, of profit and loss, of cash flow, of their assets and their liabilities projected out, all these kind of things. And then they'd give assumptions around why they think that will happen. And our job was to basically go through every line and tear it apart. Not tear it apart just to be destructive, but to tear it apart to figure out, is that underlying assumption valid? And we were doing that, and we were on a call with our counterparts on the other side. And one of the guys talking said, "We hope this is going to happen." Let's say we looked at one of the drivers of their revenue, and either myself or my boss, who's the gentleman I was talking about, said, "Can you explain this to us a little bit more? Why do you think, why have you made this assumption?" And they said, "Oh, we hope this commodity price is going to go up, or we hope this contract will come in, or whatever it may be." And he said, with all due respect, they're very polite in America. One thing I noticed between the consulting games here and in America, people are a lot more polite in America when they're delivering a rather direct message. I think Australians can be a little bit more blunt. But anyway, and he said, "Look, with all due respect, hope is not a strategy." And then he went on to say, "You guys are asking for X amount of money. It was a pretty critical piece of it." And the response had integrated the word hope. And he said, "Hope is not a strategy." And that was, and we got off the call, and I said to him, I was like, that's a good one. I hadn't heard it it's common sense, but obviously I hadn't heard it in those ways and delivered with such impact in such a highly strung environment that it really cut through. He's like, yeah, it was one of the things that one of his mentors told him, or one of the people he worked for in the game, that hope is not a strategy. And it sticks with me because when I work now with people who are trying to get started online, I feel like that's what a lot of them are doing. They're hoping. And that word can be really dangerous, because if you haven't got a clear plan and you're just hoping things are going to come together, there's two problems with it. One, it's very unlikely to happen. You need to get clear on a few things, which I talk about over and over again, and I'll mention them quickly. But two, it's a bad mindset. And I did a live on this in my Facebook group recently. It's a bad mindset because you're kind of putting a lot of things out of your control by saying, I hope this happens. And the more things that are out of your control in your business, the more risk you have. So in an online business where you can control a lot of things, hoping that something happens is not a good sign. It's a worrying thing. So if you, one, haven't got a clear plan around what you're selling, around how you're selling it, and around who you're selling it to, that's a problem. And you're probably in this hoping that it works kind of thing, because you're probably missing one of the key pieces of the puzzle. And an extension of that, if you don't have a clear daily action plan to follow, and I've got a video on my channel about this if you want to go watch it, that will get you in front of more people each day, that will grow that who you are selling it to. You're probably in the hoping it will work because you don't have a clear action plan to follow every single day to implement. Or if you do have all of those things, in which case a lot of it is very much in your control, right? I know there's platforms out there where you're kind of waiting on an algorithm, but you can drive it. You can drive a lot of it with hard work. You can drive a lot of it with strategy, right? You can drive a lot of it with testing. You can drive a lot of it with the right mindset too. But if you're saying, gee, I hope this works, right? It's generally the wrong approach, right? It should be, I'll keep going until I make this work, assuming you're using a good strategy, or I'll just test the next thing, right? And I'm not talking about every time reinventing the wheel, but I'm talking about like micro pieces of the overall puzzle. I'll test a new ad, or I'll test a new piece of content, or I'll tweak my funnel, or I'll tweak my offer, or whatever. Like I'll test, but you're not sitting there just hoping that everything's going to come together, right? Because it's not the right, well, strategically, it's not right, and two, it's not the right mindset or approach to have. I hear it from people probably on the daily. I hope this works. And there can be cases where, you know, people aren't selling you good information, and it doesn't matter how much work you do, that it won't work. And that sucks, and I get that, and that's unfortunate. But if you're listening to the right people and you've got a good current strategy that's getting results for other people, then there's a pretty good chance that it will work for you too if you do the work, right? And then you can drop the hope and you can say, I'm going to get to work and I'm going to make it work. All right, so there's a couple of layers there. One's a mindset thing, and one's a real strategy thing about getting those pillars in place and removing the need to say, I hope this works. I'll just follow my daily action plan. And if it's still not getting me the results that I want, I'll increase the input, or I'll tweak something in the process. I'll keep changing things. I'm not going to sit here and hope that all of a sudden it clicks and it works. I'm going to drive it, right? And the risk there, for some people, depending on your approach, is that they might jump around. But what you want to do is you don't want to tweak to completely burn the whole thing down and start again. You want to tweak those core pillars, You want to tweak the product, you want to tweak the sales process, you want to tweak the content strategy, right? You don't want to tweak to completely rebuild it. If you do that, you're starting from square one. I forgot what I was going to say for a second. Starting from square one every single time. And then that's even worse than just hoping, right? But having those core pillars and tweaking them along the way puts it back in your control, and you can eliminate that thing of, I hope this works. So that's a little lesson for you from something I learned back in my consulting days that's really stuck with me. That guy had a massive impact on me. We stay in touch to this day, and we catch up for dinner every time I go to New York, because he made my couple of years experience over there pretty awesome. Taught me a hell of a lot. We got along really well, and I'm confident I would have had a very different experience if I had been working with someone different, or if I'd gone to a different firm or whatever. So I'm eternally grateful for that, and I've told him that. But that was one of the lessons that really stuck with me. Hope is not a strategy, right? So if there's anyone watching this that's kind of cutting through to, that's a good thing. And maybe rewatch this video and figure out what you need to change so that you're not hoping, so that you've got tangible inputs to make a real plan that will work with consistency and with solid execution, experimentation, all those kind of things. Hope you found that one helpful. If you want to stop hoping and start using a real strategy for your high ticket affiliate marketing, check out the Super Affiliate Accelerator. There's a link in the description. It may be for you, it may not be for you, but you can check it out and make that decision for yourself. And subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you all on the next one. Cheers.